Greetings. My name is Letitia Hensley, and I'm the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Director of Family and Community Engagement. We are excited that you are joining us today and know you will gain great insight from this session. At the conclusion of today's session, please provide feedback so that we can continue to support you with amazing sessions that will be provided throughout the year. Now, without further ado, we'll turn it over to our presenters.
We'll be covering partnering for success, dealing with attendance, and how we operate within our CMS schools. I'm also joined by my partner, Anna Kennington, who will introduce herself in a moment. But the title of this presentation today will be Partnering for Success, Overcoming Attendance and Academic Barriers Through Parent Advocacy and Empowerment. So thank you again for joining us today. Just going over some things this morning that's going to help you to follow along better with our presentation. Translation support is available in this presentation. If you look to the top right corner of the screen where you see the button that says Captions, click on that button. Next, you would click on the next button that says Show Live Captions. This is going to allow you to be able to choose which language you would like to hear this presentation in. After you click Show Live Captions, you can select your language of choice from the drop-down menu, and you'll be able to follow along with our presentation this afternoon in the language selection of your choice. There are also multiple ways for you to engage with us today during the presentation. We have a Q&A box, and you are able to put your questions in that box. We'll be looking at questions throughout the entire presentation, and we will have a portion at the end of our presentation in order to address any questions that you may have. Feel free to use any of the reactions that we have on the top of the screens, the hearts, the thumbs, surprise, smiley faces, hopefully lots of claps. If you hear something that you are agreeing with in the presentation, or if you have any additional questions or something doesn't seem clear to you, please feel free to use those reactions, and we will make sure that we're able to support you at that time in the presentation. And anytime you have any questions, just put it down in the chat box, and we'll make sure we're monitoring them and collecting them for the end of the presentation. Okay. And an amazing thing that's being offered today is your wonderful feedback. We love to be able to come out and present different topics to you, and we want to make sure that the things that you are hearing is going to be going into something that you can utilize in the future when engaging with things that's happening with your children who are attending CMS schools. So your feedback is always welcome to us. There will be a link here that you see on the screen. There will be also another place in our presentation where we'll have the link that you can click on in order to give your feedback from the presentation you're hearing today. And by doing so, you'll be put in a raffle to win a $100 gift card. And you will be acknowledged on Friday, February 28th via email if you are the recipient of that gift card. So please feel free to click on the link, share your feedback with us, and you might be able to win a $100 gift card. So thank you for participating in that manner, and good luck to everyone who fills out the survey. So just quickly going over our agenda for this afternoon, we will begin with welcome and introductions. Then we will go over attendance terms and policies, parent tools and health guidance, common barriers to regular attendance, and last but not least, school and community resources to help you with your students and their attendance. So again, my name is Shakaka Perry. I am the Senior Support Specialist with Charlotte Community Schools. I've been working with CIS for approximately 9 years. I worked as a high school youth development coordinator serving Garinger High School, and now working in partnership with Mecklenburg County at the Community Resource Centers. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I will let Anna introduce herself.
Thank you. I'm Anna Kennington. I am a Director of Program Operations for Communities and Schools, and I oversee our Youth Development High School program. I've worked with Communities and Schools for about 17 years, working as a Youth Development Coordinator within Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, several years at Winterfield Elementary School, and then at Garinger High School. So I have a lot of time working with students and families within Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, and so we're happy to be here today to share some of this information with you guys. So we're going to start out with a quick video from Communities in Schools, just that kind of highlights some of the things we're seeing across the country as far as chronic absenteeism. And we'll talk about what that means after the video, but we'll enjoy this quick video first.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent because transportation was absent.
Khalil M., grade 6, absent because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent.
Because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.
Darren L.
Cole W.
Preston L.
Absent.
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 Because healthcare.
Anti-bullying.
Mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When Communities in Schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
So you heard in that quick video, and we'll talk a little bit more too about how Communities in Schools support students and families. But you saw in the video that they mentioned 15 million students across the country chronically absent. So what does chronically absent mean? If you've had students in school for any time, or even remember back when you were in school potentially, we used to talk a lot about truancy and students being truant. And you can see here that truancy really is talking about unexcused absences. It really emphasizes compliance, and it is really focusing on students not coming to school and those unexcused absences. Today and more recently, we really focus in more on chronic absenteeism. So what does that mean? Chronic absenteeism is looking at all absences, no matter if they are excused, unexcused, suspensions, all absences across the board, no matter the reason. And the reason we talk about it like that is because we're really focusing more on no matter what the reason for an absence. We know research shows that there is a significant academic impact of missed days, no matter if those are excused, unexcused absences. And so, again, it emphasizes the academic impact, and we talk about the community-based positive strategies to help families and students understand the importance of being in school every day, and also looking for ways to help families overcome barriers that may be keeping them from coming to school. As you saw in the video, they mentioned some of those barriers. And so some of what Communities in Schools does is we place site coordinators in schools full-time to work with students and families to identify what some of those barriers to being in school are, and then be able to connect students and families to resources in order to eliminate some of those barriers to students coming to school regularly. And you can see here on the bottom too, what does chronic absenteeism actually mean? It is missing 10% or more of enrolled school days. So a typical school year is around 180 days. So if a student is missing 18 or more days of school, no matter the reason, we consider that chronic absenteeism. And that is something that schools and communities look at on an individual student basis, and then also on a school-wide basis. So we can follow that data and see, kind of how many students individually are missing and being chronically absent. And then on a school level, how many students in that school are chronically absent. So again, I was talking before about some of the barriers. We know that there's a lot of reasons that students are absent from school. Again, in the video, they highlighted some of those issues. Transportation was absent. Childcare was absent. And we consider those types of reasons for students missing school as barriers. So you can see here in the first column what we consider as barriers to students being in school regularly. Chronic and acute illness, family responsibilities and situations going on at home, trauma, transportation, housing and food insecurity, not inequitable access to services, involvement in the system and different systems, lack of predictable schedules for learning, lack of access to technology, and community violence. We also talk about another category of reasons, kind of reasons for absenteeism, is aversion. These may be some things that students are dealing with in school that cause them to not want to be at school. So they may be struggling academically or behaviorally, and that causes them to not want to be in school. An unwelcoming school climate, school or social and peer challenges, anxiety, biased disciplinary and suspension practices, undiagnosed disabilities or disability accommodations, and also caregivers having had a negative educational experience. We also talk a lot about school engagement and then school disengagement. So we, based on students reporting of how they feel in school, this could be a cause for absenteeism, that they feel that there's a lack of challenging, culturally responsive instruction. They report that they're bored, no meaningful relationships with adults in school, and they do highlight here staff shortages, lack of enrichment opportunities, reasons that they would make them kind of excited to go to school, lack of academic and behavioral support, a failure to earn credits or being behind on credits for our high school age students, and then need to work conflicts with being in high school. Both Miss Perry and I worked together at high school, especially during and coming out of COVID. And we saw a lot of students who during COVID and remote learning began to work. We're helping kind of pay the bills and support families. And that was a real reason, why students did not feel like they could come back to school. They needed to work. And then also we see a lot of misconceptions. Some, parents, families, caregivers think that absences are only a problem if they are unexcused. So if you're bringing a doctor's note, you have a reason to be absent, they think, well, it doesn't, it doesn't really matter because they are excused. The misconception that missing 2 days per month doesn't affect learning. So that chronic absenteeism, the 18 or more days that we talked about, equals out to about 2 days a month. So some, think that missing 2 days a month doesn't really impact learning. You can lose track or underestimate the total number of absences. And also assuming that students have to stay home for any symptom of an illness. That is a misconception that we encounter a lot. And then also the misconception that attendance only matters in the older grades. And then that suspensions don't count as absences. So these overall in these different categories are some of the reasons and the causes of chronic absenteeism. So we wanted to let you guys know, let everyone know what CMS policy, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools policy, is on attendance. So in the CMS Parent-Student Handbook, which all parents and families should receive at the beginning of the school year, it is also available online through your specific school's website or through the CMS website. So you can always ask your school for a copy of the handbook, or you can also go online and see the Parent-Student Handbook that has a lot of information, a lot of great guidance for families. So it's always a good thing to go and reference the handbook. But for today, we're specifically going to talk about what the handbook says on attendance. And so Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Parent-Student Handbook says that some of the most common factors impacting school attendance include health, transportation, and personal stress. And you'll remember we saw those things on that previous slide about reasons for absenteeism. They say to please contact the school to discuss any barriers to attendance as soon as those concerns arise. One of the school's roles is to problem solve with you for the purpose of preventing major attendance problems. And so a little further in the presentation, we're going to talk about those school and community resources that you're able to access. And if families are unsure of who they can go to in a school to talk about reasons for absences or concerns around their child's attendance, we'll kind of talk a little bit about that more also. A student must attend school for at least half of the day to be counted present. This means that very late arrivals or early dismissals may result in your student being counted as absent, even if they were present for part of the day. Parents of secondary students, that is high school, are encouraged to monitor their students' attendance using PowerSchool. Please contact the school staff if you notice any discrepancies in your student's attendance record. So again, just emphasizing that you have to be present for at least half of the day. And in high school, that means for 2 blocks. For a day of school for high school is 4 different classes, 4 blocks as they call them. So they have to be there for at least 2 of those blocks to be counted present for the full day. And arriving late frequently or leaving early frequently can result in additional absences and cause them to move into that kind of chronic absentee category. Continuing on with the handbook, this goes into what the North Carolina attendance law says. So the state of North Carolina does have laws around attendance for students enrolled in school. And the law states that children must be enrolled in school between the ages of 7 and 16. Beginning in kindergarten, if any enrolled student under the age of 17 has 10 or more unexcused absences, and the parent or guardian is not making a good faith effort to address attendance challenges, the parent or guardian may be prosecuted. The student school wants to partner with you to address any attendance concerns. And then it does lay out the board CMS board policy and our state statute for state attendance laws. Now, some of you may have seen that number in the beginning saying that all children must be enrolled between ages 7 and 16 and say, wait a minute, we got to enroll in kindergarten at 5. That is true. Most people do enroll their child in school at the age of 5, beginning in kindergarten. However, based on the North Carolina state law, they don't have to be enrolled in school until 7. We know that what is best for kids is to go ahead and be enrolled at age 5 to get into school. But if they are not, once they are enrolled as a kindergartner at 5 or 6, any age, then they become part of this. You become responsible for them being in school regularly. So the law applies to them once they are enrolled in school. A school representative will contact parents or guardians when their child accumulates 3, 6, and 10 unexcused absences. So some of you here maybe have received a letter before from your school that says your child has accumulated 3 unexcused absences, and then it lays out what that means. It talks about the North Carolina state law. This is an automatic letter that is generated by the school when your child hits that 3, 6, 10 days of unexcused absences. After 10 unexcused days, the principal's designee or attendance official will issue a 10-day letter. And in that letter, it states that the student is in violation of North Carolina attendance law, and parents may be referred for prosecution and the Department of Social Services notified. So that is what the law says. And that is, again, why you will hear from school leaders, school support staff, that before we get anywhere near those 10 unexcused absences, we really want families coming in, talking to school support staff, the school counselors, school social workers, about how we can best support your family in making sure that the student is in attendance, or that we get the support that is needed for whatever the reasons for those absences are. Again, I'm continuing with the handbook on attendance. Absences listed are considered excused. So as you likely know, there, and we've talked about here, excused and unexcused absences. Sometimes you will see it called unlawful absences, but typically we are saying, we say unexcused or excused absences. These reasons listed here are reasons for an excused absence, and that is when the school has received verification from the parent or guardian of these specific things: illness, death in the immediate family, quarantine, educational opportunities, doctor's appointments, court proceedings, and religious holidays. Those are the major and main reasons that a student would be excused from have an excused absence. And then below, they list absences that are not considered excused and would be unexcused absences: bad weather, missing the bus, car trouble, lack of heat, water, or electricity, shopping, babysitting, lack of clothing or shoes, and oversleeping. And we will go, so this here, if you are logged in and have your parent PowerSchool account, this page will look familiar to you. If you do not have access to PowerSchool currently, this next slide will talk about how you can get an account and log in so that you are monitoring your own students' attendance regularly. So when you log into PowerSchool, you're able to see, again, grades, attendance for your young person. And you'll see here it has the attendance listed. And when attendance is entered in, we have different codes based on what the attendance is. So I just wanted to highlight here that for unexcused absences, it's going to say 2A. And if you see this in your child's PowerSchool and you say, but wait a minute, I know that was for a doctor's appointment, then that can trigger you to say, okay, I need to make sure I've got the doctor's note submitted to the school so that they can change that absence code in PowerSchool to an excused absence, which you can see up above those other different codes for illness, injury, doctor's appointments, etc. So just wanted to highlight here what this page looks like when you go into PowerSchool as a parent, and how you can tell how that absence is noted and coded in the system to make sure you're keeping track and can notify the school if there's a discrepancy. So after your child has an absence, there are a few things that you as a parenting adult and then your student is responsible for doing after being absent from school. And this is for excused, unexcused, any absence. We definitely want the parenting adult to report that absence. Again, we want to make sure that there's an excuse for the absence, that it is noted and coded correctly. So the parent or parenting adult is responsible for reporting the student's absence, and you can do that by going onto the school's website. We're going to show you here in a second where that's located on the school's website and how to do that. Or you can also always send a note, an email, or a message to your child's teacher. And again, checking PowerSchool to make sure after the fact, to make sure that it was entered in correctly. School staff, as you know, have a lot going on. Sometimes things do slip through the cracks, things get missed. So we as parents can be, can be checking on that after the fact to make sure that it was coded correctly. And if not, go back to make sure that that's corrected. And for your student, they are responsible for turning in any missing work, asking the teacher for assignments that they missed, and for checking PowerSchool or Canvas, depending on their grade level, for any missing assignments. So as I said, I was going to show you how to report your absence on the school's website. Every school has an individual website for that school, and you can easily Google and find your school's website if you don't have it already. And on that home page, you will see a button on the right that says Report Absences. You click there, and it takes you to a questionnaire. You're just going to enter your child's name, the reason for the absence, the date of the absence, the reason for the absence, and that will go directly to the school's attendance secretary so that that absence can be noted and recorded properly and coded properly. So that is an easy way for you to go in. Even the day that your child is missing, you can go in and report that absence so that the school's aware of why they were out. And as I said, I was going to make sure to give you the information. If you do not currently have a Parent Power School account, you can scan this code here right on your screen, and it'll take you to the site where you can create a Power School account. Now, I will tell you, you do have to have a student access ID and an access password from your student's school. If you call up to the front office, if you're visiting your child's school, you can ask in the front office for that code, your access ID and access password. They typically send that information out at the beginning of the school year. But if you didn't get it for whatever reason, it's lost in that mountain of paperwork we get at the beginning of the school year, then you can always ask the school for that access ID and password, and they'll give it to you. You're able to go in, create your account. And then there's a link here too, where you can find step-by-step instructions for navigating, getting that Power School account. Staff in your student's school can also walk you through this process and help you with that. So if you do not already have a Power School account, that is a great way, the main way that you are able to keep track as a parent, as a guardian, keep track of your students' attendance, grades, any number of things, update information, etc. So this is some additional guidance. You know, we know that one of the main reasons students miss school is for being ill. And if you'll remember on the slide with the reasons for absence, in the misconception column, was thinking that the student's too sick to go to school. So CMS has put, and you can also find this on the CMS website, but they have put together this guide of just kind of being able to gauge, is my child too sick to go to school? Do I send them? Do I not send them? And it goes over some very common reasons that your child may have to miss school or may not have to miss school, even though they may not be feeling 100%. We have discussions with parents a lot, especially following COVID, especially right now where we know we have a lot of bugs going around, flu, COVID, stomach bugs. There's a lot of germs out there. And so being able to tell when your child, and as parents, as guardians, we know our child's better than anyone else, so we can kind of tell if they are too sick to go to school, if they are not. But we also know that parents don't want, especially when we have transportation concerns, you get your child to school and then you turn right back around and get a call from the nurse that you got to come pick them up. So it's sometimes hard as parents to judge, are they too sick to go, are they not? So you can see some of that guidance here. Again, this is on the website. One thing I did want to point out, just that bottom right square, it's okay to have a runny nose or a small cough. I know sometimes parents, if there's any symptoms, they're just keeping students home. We want students to be in school when at all possible, and do know that every school should have a nurse on site or a nurse on call in case student goes to school and is having some medical issues and needs to be seen. Sometimes we know also that students are dealing with some anxiety. So I just wanted to briefly kind of go over this information. your young person wakes up and says they have a stomach ache. Is it a stomach bug, or could they potentially be dealing with some anxiety? So just wanted to share a few resources here with you guys about anxiety. So what is anxiety? Feeling of fear and uneasiness about everyday situations. And if your child, it's saying here, if your child is suffering from anxiety, you're not alone. It is common. But in most situations, it's normal and temporary. So some ways to determine if your child is experiencing some anxiety or physical illness, you as a parent have some ways that you can kind of ask some questions and determine if it's one or the other. And I encourage you to look up online, the Attendance Works website. You see the logo here is where this information comes from. They also have a wealth of information about attendance and supporting families so that they can best support their students with attendance. And this is just one of the many tools that they have available for parents. And so this kind of is just going over some of those symptoms of anxiety that may be hard to tell. Is it an illness, or are they dealing with some anxiety? And we need to figure out a little bit more about what's going on. So symptoms vary depending on the age of your child. Some children may keep their worries to themselves or have difficulty explaining their feelings, but sometimes those symptoms show up as feeling tired, irritable, or easily tearful. They may have trouble, especially our younger babies, separating from parents, trouble sleeping or frequent nightmares, having trouble getting out of bed or dressed for school, lacking appetite, having trouble concentrating, experiencing physical symptoms, stomach aches, headaches, and avoiding activities they previously enjoyed. So just wanted to point this out as a common and a reason that we may see students missing school that maybe look like a physical illness that could be something else going on. And so again, if this is something that you are experiencing, your student is experiencing, again, we always want you to take advantage of school resources and help work through your child's anxiety issues, and reach out to the school to help you do that. We're going to get into, and Miss Perry is going to go over some resources coming up next of who in the school can help you with anxiety, with other issues going on, and then overall with any barriers keeping your students from being in school regularly. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Anna. So just going over just some of the resources Anna gave you. There was a lot in there. A lot of it is dealing with policies, but please note that all of that information can be found on the CMS website, and anyone on your school campus who handles and support attendance on your campus can also steer you towards those policies and answer any more in-depth questions you might have about overall policies or how they individually impact your student in particular. So now we're going to talk about some school and community resources. The reason we decided to entitle this presentation Partnering for Success, because it truly is a partnership between schools, parents, and community resources when we're looking to help our students achieve and have high grade attendance during the school year. So if you're having issues with your students in attendance, you're not alone. And if you happen to be one of those parents who say like, hey, I can't get my kid to miss school if I wanted to. They love school. They have great attendance. We never have any attendance issues with them. There are still ways that you can still be involved in your school and helping to support not only your student, but teachers and other students who are in attendance as well. Because we know any student missing attendance is not only impacting the individual student, it impacts the entire academic environment. So even if you are one of those parents that have great attendance with your students, your involvement and your students' involvement is also very important. So several ways you can get involved is by attending school informational sessions. We usually have open house. I know in the high school level, we had it like twice a year, but that's a way for you to find the information about who's the principals, teachers, clubs, different things that are going on campus, ways that parents can get involved. curriculum nights throughout the year, and also when your parent-teacher conferences are going to be scheduled. So some parents might not be able to make all the information events, but I know several schools have ways in order to contact parents. So you might have an email, you might have a chat, you might get a text message. So there's different ways that we are utilizing now in order to contact parents and let them know about the different things that are going on in the school and how you can get involved on that level. Register to be a volunteer. If you are able to support your school in any way, it can be ongoing, it can be a one-time event, it can be something once a year. Schools across CMS are looking for ways for parents to come in and to volunteer the efforts that are going on in the school. Earlier in the presentation, Anna was alluding to school climate and school environment when it comes to attendance. There's a way for you to get involved with your school and improving your school attendance and your school through school and climate and environment improvement, so that you don't have students who don't want to come to school because they don't feel safe, or you might have a student who does not like how the school is, or they don't feel like it's a special place or it's a safe place for them. Get involved as a volunteer to go in and support your school and get to learn your teachers and your principals and your support staff, so you can be a part of that solution and making sure that your school climate is one that is inclusive and welcoming and supportive. So now we have fewer instances of students not wanting to come to school because they don't feel like they're welcome or they're having issues in the school environment. Signing up to be a volunteer is very easy. If you have students that attend multiple schools, you can sign up to be in multiple schools. If you just happen to live closer to a school and you want to be involved in that way, you can do that as well. So please feel free to go to that link, sign up to be a volunteer. It's very quick and it's very fast, and it can be a very rewarding thing. Next, join or attend school improvement team meetings. Schools are always looking for ways to incorporate their parents into how they are building programming and running schools. Your voice is very important. You might not be a parent who can attend all school events as open house or curriculum nights. You might not be able to volunteer, but being able to lend your voice to your school improvement team is a way that you can support your school environment and also support attendance. Maybe you have seen things that have gone on personally with your student when it comes to attendance, or just seeing things overall with the school's attendance, and you want to lend your voice to make sure that the things that are occurring in your neighborhood and your school are being realized by staff, is being addressed by staff, and it's also something that they can live up to higher management within the school. Maybe something they need to share with the school board, or maybe something they need to share with the superintendent. So please, if you're able to participate on that level, please do so. They will love to have you there and welcome your voice and your opinion. And also joining the parent leadership organization. There are so many schools who would love to have a PTA, but they don't have anyone there to help support it and run it. They don't have enough involvement in order to get it done. Be that person that can come there and support in any way that you can. Maybe you and two other parents can start something, and then they'll get the ball running for other people to be involved. It does take some time and some organization, but if there's any way that you can support on that level, please reach out to your school, your support team, your counselors, and make sure that if you have the skill set in order to lead that kind of organization within your school, that you're able to do so, because PTAs are a wealth of information, it's a wealth of resources for those parents who aren't able to engage in other ways. And then overall, it doesn't only benefit the student and student attendance, but it helps with teacher attendance. We're not talking about teacher attendance and this presentation today, but we know sometimes there are a lot of things that also impact our teachers from being able to be on campus every day and being able to support the students in the learning environment. So please, if you're able to participate by starting one, or if your school has one and you can contribute in any way, please make sure that you're able to do that, because it's a great way to help our students in their attendance. School contacts. This is a list of people that are on your school campus that you can reach out to if you're having any issues or concern regarding your students' attendance. Starting with health and mental health supports, most schools have school nurse on site. Maybe your nurse is not there every day, but they might have a rotating schedule when they're on your campus once or twice a week. You can check in with your school support staff or the front desk and make sure if you do have a nurse, what day they're on campus, and get their information. So if you're having an issue where your student might be living with a chronic absent or a chronic illness, and it's something that they know that you have multiple absences for, maybe it is something where they have to go in to see the doctor regularly for their specialized concern. Make sure that you're contacting a nurse and making sure what that illness is, making sure there's something that's on record. It is something that needs to be supported by a 504 or IEP, making sure your school counselor and your school social worker are aware of that information, so then that your students' absences that are related to their chronic illness are coded correctly within PowerSchool, and that information that Anna shared with you earlier. And then there's also a way for you to have that relationship with them. So if the school counselor, social worker notices that your student is not at school, then they can reach out to you and see if it has something to do with the illness that they're currently experiencing. Transportation. If you're having an issue with transportation, like maybe your student goes to the bus stop every day and there are no other kids there and they're missing the bus at the time that the app said the bus is supposed to be there, or you currently moved and you're not sure what your new bus stop is and you've been having to bring your student to school and that's why they have been late or absent, please reach out to the school secretary or the administrator. They will be able to look up your new address and find out where the bus stop is if you have moved. If there's an issue as far as like timing, like your student is getting there and the bus is either coming too soon or too late, they're also able to connect you with transportation to make sure that that can also be addressed as well. Community resources and referrals. A social worker is someone who can connect you with a wealth of resources that are within our community, whether you're dealing with housing instability or you're dealing with issues with having lack of food resources. Maybe you're going through a crisis where you need to contact other supports in the community, like health supports, mental health supports, or other partnership organizations such as Communities in Schools, NC Works. Whatever you might need in order to address some of those barriers that Anna discussed earlier that have been impacting your student from being able to come to school consistently, your school social worker can be someone who can connect you with those resources. And if you have someone within your school, like a community school site coordinator, we work in collaboration with our student support team. So if your social worker might not have the resources, I have access to resources, information, connecting with your CIS site coordinator, if you have one on campus, is someone else who can provide you with those resources. Anything dealing with attendance, reach out to your teacher first. If you have that connection with them, if you have their email, their Google number, if you've built that relationship with them, making sure that you connect them beforehand and let them know like, hey, my student might be absent tomorrow. That way you're able to get information about schoolwork they might need to do while they're absent. Maybe your teacher can fill out a packet that you're able to pick up and bring home to your student if they're going to be out for more than one day. So there are a good way in order to connect with them about any attendance issues that you might be having with your student, and also the academic part of that they're missing when they're out. Again, your school social worker, your school secretary, your school counselor are good people to check in with when your student is having attendance and you know that it's going to be more than one day out because there might be some overarching reasons that they're absent. And making sure that you are being able to connect with the school and being able to report the absence and submit your sick notes you might have either through the portal that's online or sending them in with your student when they are coming back to school the next day or the day after. If you're realizing there are some behavior issues that are impacting your students' attendance, again, your teacher, your social worker, or your school psychologist might be able to address some of those concerns. They might be something that is more than just anxiety. It might be something that is not only impacting them with their academics, but with their attendance, but also their academics. So there might be conversations of addressing things that might be covered by IEP or 504, maybe something where referral for counseling or additional support for the student or for the family. So if you're having any behavior issues that are attached to attendance issues, make sure you're reaching out to your teachers, your social your school counselor and your school psychologist. Academics, also teacher, school counselor. If the absences that you're having has been impacting your student, and if they are on the verge of missing more than 1 or 2 days, make sure that you are reaching out to the teacher in order to get any work that needs to be completed so that when your student comes back to school, they're not off track academically in class. And if there's anything that's going to be extensive, making sure you're reaching out to your school counselor so they can have that support to help you with supporting your students as well academically, because we don't want them to be absent and also fall behind academically. And then just overall parent engagement. Most campuses have 1, maybe 2 parent advocates on hand who are able to support you with letting you know the different activities and ways that you can be involved in the school. And also your teachers are a point of contact with being able to support you, listening to you, maybe having a teacher-parent conference regarding attendance and academics, and support you in that way. But there's a wealth of resources within your school, and if something's happened that has to be addressed with the principal, making sure that you are reaching out so that you can schedule that time so they can make sure it's on their calendar, so they can give you their undivided attention to address any concerns you might be having with your student in attendance and ways that they can support you. Your school always wants to be able to support you in any way that they can, because at the end of the day, we want your student to be present and we want them to be successful. There are also a wealth of community resources. Communities and schools, we are a community resource. We have a great partnership with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. We are currently in over 54 schools across the area. On our website, we have a list of the schools where we serve. Multiple schools, we have more than one site coordinator there. So if you know your student could grow and really do well with that connection with a one-on-one caring adult in their school environment, please go to our website, see which schools we're in, reach out to us if you have a concern or you want to know if we're in your schools and you want to get connected with a community, communities and schools site coordinator at your school. Please do that. We help with not only attendance. Attendance is our first priority by ABC plus P, but we also help students with behavior issues. And when we have behavior issues, that is far as not negative impact behavior, but also they might be shy and need to be engaged, and might need to learn how to advocate for themselves in an academic environment, might need to know how to engage with peers and others, and they might want to learn how to be a peer leader. So when we're saying behavior, we're talking about the full gamut. Those things they're really, really great and need more development, or those challenging things that need one-on-one support. We also help with coursework, so connecting in with tutoring, making sure that we are looking and monitoring anything that's happening with grades. If there is issues with missing work, and connecting in with teachers and making sure that they are on track to do what they need to do in order to be promoted to the next grade successfully and also graduate on time. And lastly, parent engagement. We love our parents and we love to hear from our parents. We love to find out ways that we can support not only the student in the learning and the environment, but also our parents and things that they are facing while raising their student and supporting them while they're going through schools. So if you are in an area that has a school, that has communities and schools, please reach out to us. We would love to support you in any way that we can. If you are going through a crisis, or you're identifying having a crisis in your life, Crisis Assistant Ministry is a great community resource. Their services are free. They have clothing. They have different furniture items. They have different ways to connect you with other resources in the community. They have appliances. If you're wanted to have some support with financial empowerment, with financial literacy, learning different things about the community, or if you're just in a situation where something just happened, someone just lost their job, and you're just in an emergency situation, they are a great resource to connect with. They offer a lot of different support, including vouchers for emergency needs when it comes to power and things of that nature. So if you are experiencing an emergency crisis that is impacting your family, which will also impact your students' attendance, please reach out to Crisis Assistance for some support. Nourish Up is a great supporting community. If you are having an issue when you are needing some groceries, they have meals they would pack up for you free of charge. You just have to go online, fill out some paperwork with them. It is not hard or challenging at all. It is multi-step, but it's very easy, and there's someone there who can walk you through the process. But they're there to help you as well if you're having issues where you just need some things in the home in order to support the family in that way. And if you are experiencing something that is medical in nature, please reach out to your own personal physician, your student's personal physician if they have one. And if not, just community health resources, and they can get you connected with someone in the community who can help you with seeing to whatever medical concerns you might be having that's impeding your students' attendance. The library is a wealthy resource in our community that I would like to say is very underutilized when it comes to supporting our students academically. A lot of times when you're experiencing on the verge of chronic absenteeism and you are falling behind and not doing that work, and you might need the support, our teachers are in the classrooms, they're doing the best that they can. They are making sure that students who have been there every day stay on task, and then also cutting out small time to make sure those students who have been absent are able to catch up to their peers. And sometimes it doesn't go as seamlessly as we would like it to. So if there's ever a situation where you know that your student needs additional support academically and they're not able to get it directly from their teacher, please contact Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library. They have a wealth of resources that can help our students. All of our students who are enrolled in CMS schools already have a Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library account. It is utilized from their student ID that they have in CMS, and it's underneath the One Access portal support that they have there. So as long as they have a CMS student ID number, they have access to all the resources at the library. So they can use the internet, they can use the computers, they can sign up for quiet study spaces if that seems to be an area of concern where they don't necessarily have a designated space in order to do their work and study. They have resources by grade level, so you can go into the website and no matter the grade, you can have access to resources. You can sign up for tutor.com and they can help support your student in that way. And there's also site staff available who can support your student directly if they're having issues academically. And for our older students, college and career readiness programs are online, and there's tons of services for the youth, including testing prep. So if you're preparing to go to college and you're looking at SAT or ACT prep, if you're looking that you want to study a certain job field, they have things like that that you can go through and utilize. So it's a wealth of resources for all our students. If you are needing more support, making sure that you are accessing the academic supports there, especially if you have been having some issues and it's been impacting your attendance, which has been impacting you academically. So please reach out to them. They will love to have you there. We also have another partner, Mental Health America of Central Carolinas. They offer free mental health counseling support and also short-term counseling. If you go to their website, there's a short link there that you can fill out and someone will get back to you, and you can individually tell them about your certain circumstance that you have, and they can tell you about the resources that are available for you and your family in the community. Parent Voice is one of the ones that we have here at the CRC, and I will tell you about that in a second. But if you're having some issues with well, yes, my student loves school, but they have not been able to go to school or wanted to go to school because they might be having issues with bullying. And I feel like I've brought it up to people at the school campus. I don't know if my voice has been heard, or I want to address it and I don't know how to do it, and I'm looking for support. Parent Voice through MHA of Central Carolinas can be that resource for you. They can help support you, walk you through the process, or even be there along the way. This is also true if you're having issues where you want to discuss supports for your student as far as their IEP or their 504. So that is another way that you can get the support that you need in order to positively impact your students' attendance. They're also there in order to support you as a parent, as a guardian, with learning mental health first aid that we have when we're dealing with our students. So kind of when we think about first aid that we give to people who might be experiencing choking, there's also first aid when we're dealing with individuals who might be having a mental health crisis. And also qualified QPR, qualified professional, and I can't remember what the R is right now, but it's also a mental health support that we're giving for our parents. If you wanted to have that education for yourself, so you'll be able to identify if your student is struggling any mental health challenges, and also just overall advocacy awareness, letting you know about different events in the community where you can be more involved and learn more about ways that you can support your student in their mental health journey and ways that you can possibly support them in the academic environment if they're dealing with any mental health crisis. And also, earlier I stated that I work for communities and schools, and I work with our partnership with Mecklenburg County and the community resource centers. Community resource centers is what we would call DSS, and they have a wealth of services that will help you and your families to make sure that you are stabilized and that you are able to have the things that you need in order to support your family's overall well-being, which will also positively impact your student being at school every day. So any issues with economic stability, educational support, food instability. They have on-site pantries where you can get food bags, SNAP benefits, health care if you want to apply for Medicaid. If you're experiencing housing insecurity, you can also stop here. And there's also partnership suites at both locations. Community schools is located here on site, but you also have community health workers from Atrium and Ovant. You have Mental Health of America here in ARJ that provides mental health services. You also have CPCC and Charlotte Works. If you're looking for educational supports on the collegiate level, if you're looking for supports as far as finding employment, Charlotte Works is on hand. And if you're having some issues or questions around financial security, Commonwealth is here as well. So it's a one-stop shop for any issues that you might be having or experiencing and ways to get support in that area. You don't need an appointment. You just walk into any of the centers, either the one that's on Eastway or the one that is off of Freedom. You let them know what you will need support with, and through your services there, they will let you know who you can see, and you can get everything done at one time. You don't have to make an appointment, and you don't have to worry about driving back and forth across town to different places in order to get support you need from various offerings in the community. So with the communities and schools, I support parents with any questions they have regarding their students who attend CMS schools, and specifically if you have students who go to some of the schools and where we serve. So questions about attendance, questions about behaviors, questions about contacting your school support team, questions about being an advocate for your parent in a school environment, advocate for your student in the school environment, or if you're interested in having your student participate in community schools on their school campuses. I am at the Valerie C. Woodard building on Freedom Drive on Tuesdays, and at the LB Scarborough building that's off of Stent Road, that's off of Eastway, so down the road from Garrett High School, on Thursdays, both locations from 8 to 3:30. If you just want to go into Mecklenburg County Resource Centers, they're open daily, every day from 8 to 5 p.m. So if you have any feedback you would like to leave from this presentation today, please click on the link below. You will be in a running for a $100 gift card. And we would love to hear your feedback. I know that there will be more presentations coming soon. And I know the Family and Community Engagement Office would love to hear what you learned from this presentation, what you want to find out more when it comes to attendance from this presentation that might have been missing, and what you would like to have come before you in future offerings that they are going to be rolling out in the next couple of months. So please make sure to click on that link, provide your feedback, and we look forward to hearing from you. And if you have any questions, now is the time. Feel free to add them in the chat box, and we'll be ready to address any that you may have regarding your student in attendance, regarding attendance overall, regarding ways that you can get connected with the resources in the community. If you have any particular question about resources and how they might positively help you with positively impacting your students' attendance. Okay. Well, we thank you so much for being here for our presentation, for partnering for student success.
Shikaka, we do have a
yes.
question.
Oh, I don't see it.
Yeah, so one of the questions was in one of your slides, you presented a slide with reasons for excused absences. The question the parent is asking, are you saying that if my child is sick at home and does not have a doctor's note, I should inform his teacher and the absence will be excused?
That is a great, excuse me, that is a great question. Yes. So if your child stays home sick, it is not required that you have a doctor's note, but what is required is to reach out and whether on the link, like I showed you from the school website, or by sending a note, or if you have that parent communication app, Parent Square, Class Dojo, whatever your school is using, but sending a message to your teacher in that moment to let them know your child is out sick. And that is, and they will be counted as excused if you send that notification in. Where we may start seeing some additional information needed is if your child is sick for an extended period of time, or if they are missing days really regularly for illness. That's when the school counselor, the teacher, is going to reach out and say, your student has been absent for being sick very frequently. Have you been to the doctor? Have you gotten any medical advice? Can we support you in getting some medical attention that may be needed? There may be some underlying issues there. But you're absolutely correct. You do not have to have a doctor's note for an excused absence. It's only if it is becoming a consistent issue and missing a lot of days for being sick where the school can say, we have to have a doctor's note. But yes, make sure that you're sending a note, reaching out through that parent communication app, and absolutely going on the website, clicking that report an absence link, and you just put a description there of why they are out, and that is enough to have to be excused.
Yes, and if you are going on the link where you can report the absent on the website, and if you have you're doing your own note, you can put it inside the box if the student is sick. And there's also a way for you to upload a note. Most of my iPhone, I think with Androids as well, you can write a note, take a picture of a note, and then upload it there, and they can have that as evidence as well. You're also able to upload doctor's notes in that portal as well, using the same format. So if you can upload it to the portal, you can send it to school the next day with your student. You can send an email to your teacher. If you're sending an email to your teacher, make sure that you're also attaching your school social worker or counselor or your school attendance person with that email, because maybe the teacher reads it, but they don't share that information with the person that's in charge of attendance at your school. So make sure if you are choosing to send an email that you're also making sure you're sending it to the school social worker or the attendance secretary of the school.
Wonderful. Great question.
And do we have any other questions? Because I can't see anything in my box.
The only other question right now that I see is it possible to get a copy of the presentation? And I think that's yes, we will have the recording as well that families will be able to access. Yes.
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 I see another question here in the chat.
Okay.
It says, although that the legal age in North Carolina for a child to decide to quit without a parent concern, school without parent concern was 18. What is the law regarding a child's trying to quit at age 16 or 17 at this time?
If a student is 16 or 17 and they are trying to quit school or drop out of school, that is something that has to be done between the student, the parent, and the school. So the student can't just say, I'm just dropping out, and does not go back to school, because legally they're supposed to be in school as a 16. What usually happens is if the student has not been coming to school for a number of days, social workers, counselors are reaching out to parent to see what's going on with that student. If they're able to schedule a meeting with the parent and the student, and at that time the student decides that it's something that they want to do, there's a formal process for that student withdrawing from school and being able to not participate in school, and it not be a legal issue that's brought against the parent. But that is something that they have gone through with counselor work, your social workers. They go through many steps before they get to that point, because that is not something that they really want kids just to be able to just decide that they want to do that day. But if circumstances are coming up where it's a decision just made between the parent and the student, and they both agree that that is something they want to do, then your social worker, your counselor, your parent, and a student would go through the process that is required through Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools to officially withdraw that student from school, so they're no longer seen as a student in the process, and then the parent won't be liable for that student no longer being in school or coming to school. And if a parent or student is having that issue, or if a parent is having that issue with a student and they want to know what the process is for that, they can just reach out to a counselor and they will start that work with them. And also, if you're having a student who wants to do that, I also support with communities and schools. We support with high school dropout prevention. So if that is an issue that you're also having with a student and they're looking for what that looks like, or resources, or why should they stay in school if they drop out of school, what that looks like and what's available out to them in the community. Maybe they don't want to continue their school at CMS, but they are looking to continue their education through CPCC or any other channel to get their high school education equivalency, or they're just looking for employment. That is also work that I do here at Communities and Schools as support. So,
great questions.
Anything else?
All right. Well, again, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so this would be the last question. It says, and I'm not sure if you answer that. If you can provide a little more clarity, they said, can they withdraw without a parent's consent?
No. So the student cannot withdraw high school without the parent's consent. If they're under the age of, they're 16 and under. What usually happens is if the student has not been coming to school and the counselor social worker has been able to connect with their parent and they still have not had any engagement with that student, and they will start the process for that student to be formally withdrawn from the school. If there's a situation where the parent does not have any contact with their student, or they're having issues with having their student comply with coming to school, that is still contact that's made between the parent and the social worker or counselor, and they will be able to make sure that they are notarizing that in the process that's going through withdrawing a student from the school. So if the student just decides they're just going to drop out on their own, and the parent is saying like they don't have any they're not able to change the student's mind, and they can't, have any levity with having the student reconnect to the school and re-engage in the school in that way. If they're able to give that information to counselors, and the counselors or the social worker who's ever working on that case for that student, they will be able to note that and make sure that the student is not being penalized for the student not being in school, and that the right paperwork is being processed so that they are not going to be seen in any way liable for the student not showing up. There is times when students drop out, or there's times when students don't come to school, which is why looking in the mail and seeing those 3, 6, and 10-day letters is so important, because maybe the parent is not aware that the student has not been coming to school, and they haven't been made aware until they get that notification, because that can start the process from that point on between the parent and the counselor, or the parent and the social worker, about what's going on with that student, the student's lack of desire to come back to school, and then making sure that everything is done correctly so the student can be formally withdrawn from that school.
Well, I think that's it. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Shikaka. We appreciate you, families and community, for joining us today. Be sure to submit your feedback. Thank you so much to CIS, and we hope everyone have an amazing day. Thank you for joining us today.